What's up, guys? Farooqi Bros here, back with another. Was there interference there? I don't know.
It's more the intro didn't even play.
Did it not? Oh, it was playing for me, but I don't know. But let's start that again. Yeah. So, what's up, guys? Farooqi Bros here, back with another podcast, and today we're gonna be talking about a couple of biggest films that are coming out this week and the following week, and then just give our our thoughts, our feelings, and talk about the industry trends. But let's get right into it and start us off. I want to talk about a film that just came out this weekend that a lot of people are talking about, very popular among cinephiles, people who love movies, and that is the 28 Years Later movie. This is a film that's kind of like a revival of the 28 Days franchise, and it's been quite some time since that original movie came out. I know there was 28 weeks later that came out in the middle, but 28 years later, it brings back the director, brings back a lot of the same writing team and kind of the same visionary approach to filmmaking. And I want to kind of start us off there and kind of kick off our review. So maybe I'll start and get us going. So for me, I like to always preface my review with first saying that, some disclaimers about what I think about the genre at whole. And for me, I'm not a big zombie apocalypse kind of guy in general. While this is not necessarily exactly like a zombie movie, but I'm just not a huge fan of those kind of films. So even when it came into 28 Days Later, which is an absolute iconic movie, it's just not the genre that particularly clicked with. So when I'm going to a movie like this, I'm going in very technical. I'm trying to think about what's happening from a filmmaking level, what's happening from an acting level, what's happening from a narrative level, because it's not my natural go-to genre. So pros first, I think beautifully shot top to bottom. I think this is something that just become now, I think, iconic with this franchise name, that you want to be experimental in your filmmaking style, and you want to you almost want to inspire people, because it's almost like making an indie film. You're using tools that anyone can theoretically get. Now, while a movie like this has a huge budget, a lot of it is used on cast, it's used on other tools, other situations, but in the end, the main tool, the camera tool that was used for this movie, which is an iPhone, something that we all carry, and that's kind of what I really want to get into, because when this film is getting experimental, when this film is using different techniques, when this film is trying to push the boundary when it comes to making movies and be something different that we don't normally see on a day-to-day basis, that's when this film is truly exceeding. So I got to give a lot of credit to Danny Boyle for directing a really strong film. And even from a narrative perspective, it's quite thrilling and it's very interesting. I was pretty hooked from start to finish. While there is times where it's a bit uneven for me, and maybe that's the case with all zombie movies, but I just feel like narratively, a lot of characters make decisions that tend to not make much sense to me from like a thematic perspective. But sticking to that thematic sense, I do think that the extremely bleak nature of this movie really elevates it. I think that's what kind of gives it its main beats. So I think when it stays bleak, when it's trying to give those striking moments, it is very interesting. And I come out of it, feeling like, what, this is a strong film. It might not end up being in my favorites, but I always do credit people who are pushing the boundary when it comes to versus the slop that we see usually on a day-to-day basis. So, and that's something we discuss all the time at Cinema Debates, so it's nothing new. So for me, ultimately, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I've seen a lot of people come out of this giving it 5 out of 5. In fact, it's one of the best reviewed movies of the year. It hasn't had the best audience score, but that's kind of normal when it comes to these kind of horror movies. But it's almost universally being praised by critics and fans of cinema alike. So, I'm right there with you guys. While narratively, not everything clicked for me, I do think this was overall strong experience. So I want to pass Zion. I want to see what your thoughts are, if they're a little different from me, where you stand on it. I think you're a bigger fan of the original 28 Days, even more than me. So where do you kind of stand on this one?
So yeah, I am a bigger fan, and I came out of this film much more positive than you did from our initial reactions. And I think even as a little time has passed, it has kind of stayed in a positive place for me. And I think I just enjoyed it as a whole. I know you say you're not too big a fan of this style of movie or this genre per se, but I necessarily don't have any problem with it. And I feel like after coming out of it, it was like a mix of A Quiet Place Part 2 and Train to Busan, kind of like a blend of those two things. And this was like that film. And I think it did what it was trying to do very well in terms of bringing people back into this world and also kind of creating the foundation for what's to come in the sequels and in the trilogy as a whole. So I think it did that job well, and kind of showing all the new characters, showing all the new thematic stories that they're going to unfold and kind of expand onto. And the performances are all, I think, done well from top to bottom, especially Ralph Fiennes. I think he kind of, when he showed up, he really did steal the show. So I'm very excited to see kind of how his character will go moving forward as well. And I think overall, between the action and kind of like the high octane thrill of it, that is kind of like the key part of the movie. That's like the crux of why people go to this type of movie. I think that was handled very well. And like you said, even on their budget, which I think was like 65 million. So I think I saw a tweet that said their opening weekend box office was also 65 million for globally. So they kind of already broke even, which is very great. And the technology they had were able to kind of use to create what they did with their limitations was actually just very well done. So I understand why also critically that people are giving them their props because they did a great job with the kind of the limitations they had going into it. So I feel like hopefully, I think the next movie they already filmed it, if I'm not sure, but if not, hopefully if it does get slightly a bigger budget because it now proved that it can stand well on its own now that it's come back after a while for this franchise. And overall, it was positive. I enjoyed almost most aspects of it. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5, which is positive, but there were some things like Shra said that narratively were a little weak, but nothing to say that okay it was terrible and like that. I feel like just everything can be corrected in one way or another, and the ending was kind of felt like it came out of nowhere and someone's rushed, so that also kind of brought it down slightly for me, but not too big of a knock. I still very much enjoy the film, and overall it's been kind of a weak year, so I would say this might end up in my top 5 just by default based on what else has come out and what else I've seen. But I thought it was solid overall. 4 out of 5.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Samir, of all three of us, you're probably the biggest 28 Days fan, if not mistaken, right? Like of the original film. I know you haven't got a chance to see this one yet, but in general, like when you think about the 28 franchise, do you think that there is a revival here where this trilogy does make sense to make right now?
Yeah, I think it definitely makes sense to make it. I know the first one distinctly recognized it's filmed and the quality of it and what it's filmed on. So I'm glad that kind of carried over. I have to admit that I haven't seen 28 Weeks Later. I know that's considered probably the weakest of the three. So I'm glad they're going back to what the first one special and kind of implementing that into the modern way the story is told. And even that story, I like the manifesting, even though it is like a zombie apocalypse type of story. I like the direction they went in, where they kind of didn't even focus much on the zombie part, where the conflict became just the people that are involved in. And I haven't seen the new one, but from what I've seen, it looks pretty interesting. I know there's a lot of discourse on how the movie ended, so I'm kind of excited to see how it went from there. But I am a big fan of the original.
Yeah, so let's see. Hopefully, there's always rumors that Cillian Murphy could be on his way back at some point in this trilogy. I think a lot of people would be happy to see that, myself included. But yeah, let's move on from that to a movie that's coming out this coming weekend, and that's going to be F1. And I got a chance to see it a little earlier, so I want to give my quick non-spoiler review on the topic. And next week, I think we can do probably a longer topic going into how we think about this movie and how it sits. But I came out of this movie very high. Like I immediately felt like this might end up being in my top 5, comfortably in my top 10, but very much possible in my top 5 depending how the year goes. And for me, when I came out of it, I tweeted, I said the word, this is a directing masterclass. And the reason I'm saying that is that all the principles of filmmaking are all like A+. And I think that's something you've come to expect from a guy like Joseph Kosinski, who's the director, especially when you come off Top Gun Maverick. I mean, we all discussed Top Gun Maverick. I don't know if was it a universal 5 among all of us? I think it was. Maybe it's on you gave 4.5. I don't know. But so we all came out of that year 2023 saying that Top Gun was in our top 5, and I think if you liked Top Gun, if you liked that type of action, that type of pacing, and I called it kinetic pacing in my review, and very fluid, everything's very fluid, you're gonna love this movie. It almost feels like a spiritual sequel to Top Gun Maverick. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, earlier versions of the script actually had Tom Cruise in mind to play the main character instead of Brad Pitt. And when you're watching the movie, you're like, oh yeah, I could just see this was written for Tom Cruise almost. That like it just feels like a Tom Cruise movie. And I mean that in a compliment sense because I do think that it's just a lot of fun. It's a very feel good movie. Again, very Top Gun in its approach. A little bit of that Mission Impossible feel also. And you got Hans Zimmer. You got a lot of these pieces that came together that make the score feel strong. The pacing feels strong. The movie feels strong. Is it a narrative masterpiece? Probably not. It's pretty by the numbers in the sense of what's going on. But I do think it's a very strong plot. I think the performance was mostly good as well. I wouldn't say anyone's in award category contention in this movie, but I think it's just a good summer movie. Like it's literally like if someone looked at a dictionary, summer blockbuster, this movie will show up because it's like everything a summer movie should be. And it's just very fun. So I came out of this movie liking it quite a bit. Good credit to the sound design, great credit to cinematography, and I think it might end up being in my top 5. I came out of this giving it a 4.5. I'm also leaning on 4.5. I haven't really decided. Maybe by next week when we do a full spoiler review, I'll have a better answer. I think I've talked myself into 4.5 just by how I've been praising it, so I'll stick with it there. That's my review. Next week we'll probably all jump in and kind of give our thoughts as well in a more full approach. But yeah, F1 movie, definitely go check it out. So from there, I want to talk about Pixar's Elio, and in all, we haven't had a chance to see it. Did not get a chance to do any press screenings for it either. So because of that, I'm not going to tackle it from a perspective of how the movie was narratively. Rather, I want to talk about an interesting headline coming out of this movie, and that's that F1. Pixar's Elio is actually the lowest opening ever for a Pixar movie. I mean, that's like ever. And remember, that counts The Good Dinosaur. Like let's put it out there. It counts all of Pixar's kind of flops. And it's interesting to think about because we have this debate a lot. That's why I want to have it one more time. In the sense of original movies versus tapping the nostalgia pipe one more time. And the Pixar CEO just came out, might have been CEO, I don't discredit, might have been someone more high-level executive at Pixar, and he said that we need to find a way to make original movies before the audience knows what they want. And if we didn't do that, we'd be on Toy Story 27 right now. That's the exact quote. And that's a good point. We're getting Toy Story 5, and when we discussed Toy Story 5 earlier in the podcast, maybe a few weeks ago in another podcast, we were like, here we go with Pixar. They're going to time to make Incredibles 4, Frozen 3, and Toy Story 7. But when they do make an original movie, it's crickets at the box office because no one's pulling up. So, like, what's the solution here? Like, I'm not sure. So, Zach, I don't know if is there a solution, or is Disney just Pixar rather? Are they between a rock and a hard place? Like, you can make a nostalgia movie and everyone's gonna get angry for it, or you make an original movie and no one's gonna watch it.
There is a solution, but there's a few problems with this movie. One, I feel like it was marketed very poorly. You rarely even see any trailers on it. You don't see any commercials for it on TV or even online anywhere. I feel like even they themselves are kind of scared of it. But alternatively, also, the trailers I have seen, like even for kids, like I even compare it to old trailers of like past Pixar movies, and it's like, why would a kid be interested in this? That's what I think to myself. And it doesn't look interesting at all. It kind of looks boring almost. Like I can't tell what a child will watch in those trailers and be like, oh, okay, mom, dad, I want to go see this movie. Or for a parent to be like, all right, let's go take our children to see this movie, because I don't know what is the pull there, at all. And also the art style, I know people make comparisons to Turning Red, that kind of like specific art direction that they've been going. It is not great, honestly. Like it's taking away from kind of the uniqueness of it. Like the more they kind of stick to one style, the more will become assembly line, So it's like they should have just gone a little bit different, maybe more unique in animation, more unique in narrative, something like that. But there was no single thing in this movie that I haven't even seen, but I mean just marketing ways. Nothing that made you say that, oh, Pixar is back and this is a movie like you have to see, and they're pushing the boundaries and they're going a better place again, narratively or animation wise. This movie doesn't seem like it has any of that. It kind of seems like they just toss it out there. It's like, okay, it's Pixar, so it's gonna make money, but it's not. So I feel like I hope they learn kind of a lesson of where to take it, but part of me feels like they're gonna learn the wrong lesson, which is, okay, we have to stick to our classics and keep pushing those forward. But based on what you said of with the executive, whoever made that quote, it seems like they are still saying, okay, we just have to figure out in today's, age, what do people want to see and kind of put that out there rather than just fold on to let's just make more sequels to the classics and things of that nature. So hopefully they don't learn the wrong lesson, but they do have room for improvement because it seems like they kind of just, I don't want to say half-assed it, but doesn't seem like they put a lot into this one specifically.
Yeah, my first thought is also similar to yours in terms of marketing being really bad. I read a couple of reviews. I heard this movie can be seen as somewhat of like a movie about autism and like this child is coded in that way and what that looks like. I'm not sure how that kind of is that friendly to a wide audience or the understanding what this movie's about, like the more wider themes. I don't necessarily doubt Pixar's quality. It's more that I don't know if like they just has the audience lost their attention. And you made a point about the visual design. I've seen people online compare this to that really cringy Grubhub ad they used to play, like the dancing and during COVID, and they're like, "This is what that looks like," and I'm like, "Yeah, it kind of does." And the problem with Pixar is, yes, their style was so iconic that now everyone's copied it. So now you look like a caricature of yourself because everyone's copied the Pixar style. Like, yeah, I get it. When your heyday, when you guys invented it, it was the biggest thing, and you made billions and billions and billions of dollars. But now I'm not sure the Pixar style works anymore. But I don't know if some of you have a different opinion on that. But why this movie is not doing good compared to, let's say, the classic Pixar, the golden age.
No, I agree completely. I mean, when it comes to art style specifically, like Spider-Verse kind of revitalized the whole animation thing by having that type of unique art style that people are trying to mimic, sort of. So it seems like Pixar is kind of left behind. They're kind of stuck in the past. They kind of need to adjust going forward. And narratively, I feel like this type of story, it feels kind of like a recycled story. I feel like I've seen movies like this that's been done, especially animated movies. I mean, there's a movie with a similar purple alien with like a similar concept called Home. I feel like no one's heard of it, but it feels like that. It feels like that's this exact movie just redone. So I don't really understand the appeal, and for sure the marketing is a big issue. I mean, when it comes to like sequels to other stuff, the marketing is kind of already done. Half the job is already done. You kind of have to bring attention to the new content that you're trying to make, because even the stuff you're making sequels for, the Pixar has already done, that was once original content. Like, how did that become so appealing for the general audience? You got to take like a similar approach, which I haven't seen done for this at all. So
yeah, and that's why I bring up the Pixar boss again, who said that we need to make original movies that here it's Pixar, it's Pete Docter, and I have his name. He said that we have to find out what people want before they know it. And that's an interesting quote, because things like Toy Story, no one would ask for it until it happened. Not everyone can't stop themselves from wanting more of it. But they're having a trouble time in the creative room. And I think to exemplify this point one more time, I'm actually going to share my screen and show the last few Pixar releases. So we can just look. We did this last week with Disney's live action movies, but let's look at Pixar's releases going reverse order. So obviously Elio just came out. The worst opening ever, but Inside Out 2 last year made $1 billion. Now, if you guys remember our review of it, I think we both gave it an average score of 2.5. I'm not sure if that's still your score, but we were thinking we were not high on that movie coming out of it, even though the money was insane. Like, it made crazy money. But when you're trapped between Elemental, Inside Out 2, and Elio, the lesson Disney is going to learn is that this was the $1.5 billion movie, and these were the two flops. Now, Elemental, to its credit, it actually did better, had better legs, so it opened poorly, but it did really well across the summer, so it actually ended up making quite a bit of money. And I actually didn't mind Elemental as a movie. I think it's pretty good overall, but again, it's not going to change.
The animation style and direction was very nice too. You know?
Yeah, this was made by someone who made another movie, but I forgot what. Maybe we'll see his name, but if we see Peter Sohn one more time. And then Lightyear, again, what was our average score on that? 2.5? Like, we were not coming out that strong. I don't think Smear's still seen it, actually. So, Turning Red, I have not seen it. I only heard pretty limited reviews on this movie. And on top of that, what I was upset about this movie, that it had there was a racist undertone to a lot of the reaction. A lot of people didn't like that it was so specific to the culture that it was portraying. I think it was a Korean culture, if I'm not mistaken. But and it was set in Canada. It was a very specific movie. But I think putting all those racists aside, I do think there was issues in this movie, from what I've understood. Samir, I don't know if you've seen this movie, what your opinion on it was, but Turning Red, you know.
I haven't seen the last. I think the last Pixar movie I even saw was Luca, just above that.
Again, so Luca, I've seen Luca as well, and just I hate to say it, but the word forgettable is the only word that comes to mind because it's not doing anything to change the game. Yes, it's very pretty to look at, but that's about it, you know. Soul. Now, okay, this was 5 years ago. Was this the only movie all three of us can agree on was like their last really good movie? Pixar Soul. It's been 5 years. It's been a long time. Before that was Onward. What? Three being
like mid-tier movie, you know. So
yeah, three's being.
There's been a lot of mid-tier, but Soul is the one that stuck out.
Yeah, so 2014 Toy Story 4. I think it might be the weakest of the quadrilogy, but we still gave it pretty high reviews. Incredibles 2, again, a lot of money for nostalgia. Coco, I think now we're entering like the end of their prime. Like Coco was like when they were still in their prime, but they're about to end it because I think everything afterwards was kind of like diminishing returns. Cars 3, Finding Dory, The Good Dinosaur, Inside Out, Monsters University.
There you go. That Peter Sohn guy, he did The Good Dinosaur.
All right, so he's coming off of The Good Dinosaur. And then Inside Out 2, Monsters University, Brave, Cars 2, Toy Story 3, Up. This is, I guess,
this is their like golden age, you know.
From Toy Story 3 back is golden age.
Toy Story 3, Up, Wall-E, Ratatouille. This is like peak of their peak. Incredibles.
Yeah, Cars, Incredibles, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., Toy Story 2, Bugs Life. So that was clearly the golden era. Their first like 12 movies built their legacy. But we just talked to their last 5 years, not much going on. If we look into the future, they got a couple of movies on the docket. The next movie is called Hoppers. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. It's about a girl who turns into a beaver, and she has to help the beaver colony not get destroyed because it's like an environmentalism type of movie. So that's the next one. Then we're getting Toy Story 5. What?
Seems like she turned to a rabbit, no? How to be a beaver?
I think I have to search it now. Hoppers. All right, Hoppers 2026.
Why is it called Hoppers?
Yeah, this is clearly a beaver.
All right.
So there you go. So this is a concept art of the movie. Either way, Toy Story 5. Then we know we got Toy Story 5 coming out. I think we're all excited for it, though. Quality remains a big thing, and we're going to talk about obviously originality. Then we got a movie called Gato, which is some people are saying it's quite similar to another movie that came out called.
That's
Flow.
the one they're bringing back hand-drawn animation for. So I guess they're trying something different with that one.
Right. So this has some hope, maybe, you know. So
even if it seems like they're kind of trying to piggyback onto the,
Flow.
Yeah. Forgot the name.
All right. So and then Incredibles 3 and
Flow copy.
Yeah, Flow copy, but some people are saying that it's actually quite different from a plot perspective. And then you have Incredibles 3 and Coco 2. I don't know what you're doing with Coco 2, but I guess again nostalgia has to make its way. So that's what's coming up. And then
look at all the sequels though.
That's because I guess the lesson's been learned. And if Hoppers does poorly, you already know what's what. So either way, that's kind of the the short of it. So I want to go to our last topic, make it really quick, and it's going to be our what to watch, the Farooqi Bros references and the references, Farooqi Bros recommendations. Actually, straight up, I got thrown off by Lord Humongous saying you can relax. I'm here. I got completely thrown off by that comment. I was like, what's going on? But so what to watch? All right. So what is Samir? What is your what to watch? Do you have anything going on right now?
Me first. You go first.
Me? Okay. I'll do it. What's what? Listen. What to watch? I don't know. I haven't been watching much. All right.
You know what? Oh, you know me?
You can go.
I was gonna cop out and just recommend Soul because that was like their last good original film, and it was really, really good. So it can be done. Original films can be done well for Pixar, but they kind of explored a theme that they kind of try to stay away from. I feel like it was a pretty heavy thing that they kind of don't want to get involved with anymore. But that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I was gonna recommend. I wasn't even gonna recommend anything. I was gonna cop on and be like, "Oh, I watched the NBA Finals Game 7 and start talking about that." But then I was trying to piss you off there. But then I was like, whatever. But I'm thinking what to recommend. What have I been watching? Man, I watched some of The Office. Like it's I'm kind of in repeat business right now. I'm watching The Office. I guess Office. Watch The Office again.
How are you recommending The Office again?
Listen, it's an every 3 to 4 year show. You can always repeat it. If you haven't done a run in 3 years, do another run. If you haven't done 4 years, do another run. What else? I've been watching some BTAS, some Batman the Animated Series. I'm kind of hitting the nostalgia wagon these days. That's pretty much it. I mean, I'm looking at my own letterbox, and I've noticed that outside of going to the theater, there's not much going on here in terms of what I've been watching.
I've been seeing a lot of superhero animation too, specifically Superman, because of the marketing of Superman kind of broke my algorithm, and now everything is Superman.
There you go.
So I guess it's working for them. But
what type of animation are you seeing? Like the movie universe, the animated universe, something?
All of it, everything.
All of it. Good. So maybe it'll turn you. You used to be a Superman is boring kind of guy.
A lot of hope that it's not a lot of Henry Cavill, but
well, I'm just trying to make you a Superman fan, not necessarily a Cavill fan. Either way, we gave our recommendations. I had not much, so I gave The Office again, and Samir also had not much. And Soul.
Those are two of the worst things ever.
I tried to segue an NBA Game 7 talk, but it didn't really work out. So now you give your recommendation.
I guess I will break the mold. I'll recommend a video game because Death Stranding 2 is coming out this Thursday. So I'll recommend Death Stranding 1. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but if you're a Kojima fan, you'll kind of understand the zaniness and the out there-ness of the game. And there's a lot going on, a lot to take in. But it's a very interesting style of gameplay. And though it might be kind of slow and grindy, I feel like you do build on something, and you kind of, as you go, you just kind of absorb it and take it all in. And I think it is a very unique game in that sense. So that's definitely a game I would say if you haven't gotten to try it, that's something to check out, especially if you're a film fan who watches like out there movies and stuff. Kojima's the guy for you in terms of video game realm. So definitely give that a try. And then if that's your thing, Death Stranding 2 is coming out this Thursday. It seems like it's gone even bigger and crazier than last time. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, I think we'll be there. I think Universally, the review broke there like 10 and 9.5, something lower. So I feel like Kojima's one of those guys that if you're a big movie buff, like it's such an easy transition point. Like that's the thing. I mean, I guess the games are kind of hard to play, but you can play in easy mode if you're not a game guy. But I think there's a transition. You can transition and enjoy both. In fact, there's a Death Stranding movie coming out, right? He said he has minimal involvement of it, but I'm not sure who.
I think so, yeah.
The same cast would just be playing.
Isn't it A24 too?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if the same cast is pulling up. I know the Norman Reedus is, but I'm not sure anyone else is. Maybe they are. Either way, what did you guys think about 28 years later? We'll be back next week for an F1 spoiler review. And what do you make of all this Pixar kind of downturn? And Elio, if you've seen it, if you enjoyed it, we definitely want to hear your thoughts and let us know. If you didn't enjoy it, we also want to hear it. But yeah, just join the debate. From myself, from Zayan, and from Samir, we're the Farooqi Bros. And we'll see you next time. Peace out.